And now, it's time for Chattering Class. This is where we're schooled by an expert in some dinner party-worthy topic. This week, the subject is comedy. Our teacher is David Misch. He's an award-winning comic who's written for everything from SNL to Mork and Mindy. He has a new book out called Funny the Book, Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Comedy. David, thanks for joining us. I want to start from the beginning. What's the oldest joke in the world?
It is a tablet found in the Middle East from a civilization called the Sumerians in 1900 BC. The joke is something which has never happened since time began. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap. So yes, the oldest joke in the world is a fart joke.
It sounds like a Judd Apatow film. I could see that.
That's right. I think
its way into that.
It's in development right now. And anyway, I didn't say it was good. I said it was old.
All right. Well, what's the oldest funny joke?
The oldest funny joke is, I believe, 10th century in Britain, as it was then known, as opposed to now when it's called Britain, which is, what hangs at a man's thigh and wants to poke the hole it's often poked before?
Uh-oh.
A key. Didn't see that coming, yeah.
So your book kind of covers the history of comedy, how comedy works, and just kind of features some of your favorite comedians. Talk a little bit about the history of it. When did people first take comedy seriously?
Well, what's interesting is everything comes from theater, which actually came from religious festivals in ancient Egypt. But even though theater got started in ancient Greece, it was completely without comedy. Went for about 100 years before the first comedies were produced. And it's all a sort of blend. You know, it was originally these Dionysian revels about paying homage to the god Dionysus. And then these dances, people started talking, and then they got mics, and then they told fart jokes. So,
and then there would be a brick wall behind them.
Yeah, I mean, they would construct in those days, of course, it was gigantic, 600-foot tall brick walls. But in contemporary times, we've learned to scale that down. Yeah. But actually, it started in ancient Greece, then Rome, which had a much broader, bawdier sense of comedy. They were, again, the Judd Apatows of the ancient world, with a lot of people falling down and acting drunk and being licentious, etc.
But wait a second, sorry to interrupt, but Pliny the Elder, right?
Yeah.
There was mooning in Pliny the Elder.
Yes, there was. He referred to...
I learned in your book.
There's a reference to mooning then, which I feel, indicates that... So what does that tell us about civilization? I think everyone says things are going bad. No, things are just staying exactly the same for thousands of years. There's no progression, there's no regression.
That's right. Well, I guess that's comforting in a weird way. I was also interested to learn in your book that stand-up, as we know it, kind of came from people like Oscar Wilde. Yeah,
but let me go back just a couple 100,000 years. The first stand-up was a court jester. That was really how it started. And it's a funny story, which is that evidently a slave was brought into the pharaoh's court, and he obviously knew nothing about court procedure, so he would bumble around and say ridiculous things, and people thought that was really entertaining, and he was made the first court jester. So the idea of standing up and saying funny things started then. But then, in America, many years later, Mark Twain and Oscar Wilde, of all people, would travel around the country. Charles Dickens did it too, doing lectures, but they were mostly funny. They were mostly things that people would laugh at, and that sort of started off this sense that someone would come to your town and say funny things. I would say that, Sarah Silverman and Oscar Wilde have some differences, but the same basic concept.
It's a far cry from Larry the Cable Guy. Although they might have gotten along.
In the old days, it was Lawrence the Cable Person. It was a whole different thing.
Very good. All right, so we're laughing. Why are we laughing? Your book talks about the mechanics of humor. Can you tell us what makes something funny?
It's hard to sum up real quickly, but let me do my best.
Okay.
So there's surprise. It's when we're presented with something we don't expect. There's the naughty, the forbidden, which we all know we shouldn't be exposed to, and then when we are, it's funny because it's something that's not supposed to happen. Again, a form of surprise. There's what we pretentiously call the rapid juxtaposition of different concepts, which is something that seems like it shouldn't happen the way it's happening. The example I use in the book is Jim Carrey emerging from a rhinoceros's butt in Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, certainly one of the great works of art of the 20th century.
Of course.
So those are all examples of how comedy disrupts the normal flow of events, which is ultimately the key to it.
Do you have a favorite joke?
Well, I'll tell you my one personal joke. I was a stand-up comedian for a little while. And
that's really funny.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming to the show.
Just thinking about that.
Yeah.
And I didn't do jokes. I did conceptual humor. I did bits and characters and things like that. My one joke was this. My girlfriend and I broke up a little while ago. It's very sad, but we had different religious beliefs. She was an atheist, and at the time I thought I was God.
Enrico, David and I just scratched the surface of his book. It's full of awesome comedy trivia.
Okay, so for instance?
The term slapstick, okay,
yeah.
It comes from the bataccio, which was a club-like prop made of 2 wooden slats, and it was used in early sketch comedy in the 16th century.
All right.
And basically, actors would hit each other with these things, and it made a loud noise, but no one got hurt.
I'm having a hard time picturing what that would be like. See, now I get it.
Funny, right?
Yeah.